Once you guys, so I know you've already been in the system playing around. If you have any questions, don't feel bad to interrupt me. I'm the kind of person where if I have a question and I don't ask it at that moment, I'm going to forget it 10 minutes later. So that never offends me. So if you're thinking of anything, know. So Elliot's going to be getting these things added and changed. And so you might see this change, or it might stay the same. I know you added these member types. And he's going to be importing all of your members in and creating grace periods and all of that kind of fun stuff. And so as he's doing that, you're going to start to see your member types, just like you see here down on the left-hand side. And you're going to start to see your members divide out between the different member types over here in this right-hand column, this active column. Now, as your members move through their membership period, they're going to start off as active, of course. Once their expiration date comes and passes, if they haven't paid their dues, they're going to wind up in a graced column. You're going to see this pop up in your database as well. It's a graced status, which means they still have access to the database, but now, but they're just kind of things changing, basically. Once they are out of that grace period, they're going to move into a lapsed status. So with that lapsed status, on the back end, nothing changes. You're just going to see your member in that same member type they were in before, but in the lapsed column. But for the member point, they'll no longer be able to log into the member resource center, any of the social community. They're going to not be able to take advantage of any member type pricing, and so where the member is going to start to see some changes in their membership. But like I said, for you guys, it won't look any different on your end.
Let's say somebody has a different date, or let's say Diane here at the office, or somebody had a wrong date for somebody. We can really correct that. So because I suspect that we will have to be able to do that once we get everything up and running here. If we have an adjustment to their date, we can do that, right, manually?
You sure can, yeah. I'm going to show you how to update your members' profiles today, and you'll be able to change any of that information.
That assumption, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty savvy at this stuff, so I just thought I'd ask, so we've got the answer. So.
Yep, and I'll show you how you can do that today. Over here in the right-hand corner, you have your new members in the last 90 days. This is going to be based off your members' join date. When members take a membership application, that join date is automatically going to populate, and those profiles are going to wind up over here in this right-hand column. That's just quickly reiterating those membership benefits they're gaining by being a part of your association.
Right.
And of course, over here, as your numbers populate, we can do the same over here in the new members in the last 90 days. We'll be able to click on any of those numbers of profiles. Right now, we only have 3 individuals in admin. If I click on that, it's going to be a little funky because I'm zoomed in. It's going to take us to our profile list. There are all kinds of fun, awesome, cool things we can do in this profile list. I'm going to try to make it to that today to review all of those things you can do to your data as your members are imported in. So you'll be able to send emails, export your members, just all kinds of stuff we're going to go over. It's kind of like I said, towards the end of our training today. To go back to that home page, I'm just going to select the home icon. That's going to bring us back to this home page again. Just to go over some additional dashboards we have here. We have our event dashboards. Our event dashboards will hold either past event attendance or upcoming event attendance. So it's going to pull from our event registration forms. And that's just going to show you.
Archive it by year or what? So like, for example, past events, will it archive a year, or do we need to set the parameters on that?
So it's not going to archive anything. It's to give you a quick glimpse of the upcoming. Everything else will be in the form list, and you'll have access to view those form submissions.
Okay.
So this is just kind of a snapshot. Everything on this page is really just what's going on. You can dive into more detail on any of these items.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and then we have our financial dashboards, aged receivables, and same thing. We're going to look at financials here in a second together and really go into more detail. But this is just a glimpse of what's going on. So aged receivables is going to show you how many outstanding invoices you have by how many days and how much money. So along the bottom here, we have our current, meaning these are current invoices, and a big bar graph will be here. Or reflected for invoices that are past due 1 to 30 days, 31 to 60 days, 61 to 90 days, or 91 plus days past due. Lastly, on this kind of dashboard area, we have our sales over time. This is going to show us, it's going to adjust as brought in per month per revenue account. So this will allow us to filter what revenue account we're looking at and how much money was brought in for that revenue account. These are real time, and if they're not reflecting like the immediate changes that have been made in the system, you can just refresh them and it'll show you exactly what's going on up to date. Okay. Any questions on this home page? Awesome. The next item that we're going to look at are settings tab too often, except for when you guys graduate and you start calling into the help team. The help team is going to ask you for an account number in your head. And so if you just go to your account settings tab, it's going to be right in this area, right up in the top left-hand corner here. This is also a great place for you to keep track of how many custom profiles or prospect profiles you guys have used. So if you're getting near the end of your level, if they're all paying, that's awesome. That means it's time to level up. If they're not all paying, you might want to take a look at those lapse numbers. How long have they been lapsed? And you can either move them to prospects if you've got room, or you can delete those profiles. Deleting profiles in our system is really like archiving them. You'll always be able to find those deleted profiles and restore them to the same as they were the day you deleted them. So don't be afraid of that delete button.
Okay.
You guys are in the central times that begins January 1st, and it's a calendar year. We've got your member number turned on, so we are using your member numbers in the system. You are using QuickBooks.
But I know we're not going to have that link to QuickBooks. I think Jeff did not want that linked yet, but when he joined us, did he talk to you about that?
Yeah, I don't know if he talked to me about it. QuickBooks and Member will not link automatically. So there's nothing that we do that will make them talk. We're not that close.
So you say QuickBooks download and or we need a purge or merge or something like that, right?
Exactly. So you'll be able to pull a transaction report from the member clicks, whether it's an IIF file if you're QuickBooks desktop or a CSV file if you're QuickBooks Online. You'll be able to import that into your QuickBooks, use to reconcile your accounts if you want to use it for that. You do not have to. You have to do that manual import if you want them to talk to one another. But because there's a certain format that we know QuickBooks reads. And so if we have that turned on, it formats it in that QuickBooks way that we know QuickBooks can read it. If we have it turned off, I think it's a little bit more of a basic setup for any other type of financial system.
Okay. I'm looking at reply to email. Let's just make a little note of that. That might be the wrong email. But I know I can change that. That might be.
Absolutely.
That might be polishfest.org, but I'll verify that.
Okay, you can come into this account settings tab at any time and update this email.
I've pretty much been in every page on here, so.
I think I've said this before, but if all of my accounts were like you guys, I would be happy. It gets me excited too. So, lastly, we have your billing contact information, and just to talk about this notifications email, I'm sure you know what it's used for, but basically any email that's being sent from MemberClicks, your members at some point are going to want to try to reply to it. You want that reply to email ending up in somebody in this area will be where that email winds up if they reply. And then lastly, we've just got your bill contact information, and that's for MemberClicks to have on file here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save. Any questions on those account settings? Awesome. The next thing that we're going to start talking about are financials. Now, I like to use my MemberClicks test site to go over financials because if you don't have invoices created, it's visualize what's going on. And we've got some test invoices in MemberClicks we're going to look at. So this is our MemberClicks test site. I'm going to finance. And this brings us to our invoice list. Now, all of your invoices, will be housed in this area. So over time, that's going to be a lot of invoices. In order to search your invoices, if you're looking for something specific, start off by using yours in the top right-hand corner. You can search by first name, last name, organization, or email. So if I search for my name, I know I've got a couple of test invoices. It's going to bring those invoices that I have in the system for me. I can also filter by specific types of invoices. So you'll notice we've got columns along the top. We can see invoice by invoice number. I can select any of these column headers and it'll alphabetize or numericalize. It's not a real word, but put these in numerical order or backwards order. So we can filter those by, or see those by invoice number, the type of invoice we're looking at, first name, last name, organization, the status of the invoice, the total amount, the due date, or we can view. So I can go ahead and say, oh, we really only care about Adrian's renewal invoices, and we really only care to see the ones that are paid. We don't want to see the ones that are voided. So I can also use staff top. And now we've got kind of a slimmer amount of invoices we're looking at. I maybe call you up and I might say, hey, I really want a copy of my invoice that I paid. I just can't find my receipt. Can you send it to me? You can, once you've found my paid invoices, tag all of those invoices and select email. And that's going to send those invoices directly to me. So I'll receive copies of each of those invoices. You can also create PDFs and print those off and send them to me snail mail.
Okay.
Another kind of cool is if you select one invoice and you email it, it'll give you the opportunity to either, yeah, I do want to send it to their default email that they have in their profile, or maybe I want to change that, or maybe I want to add it to a couple of additional. And it's just acting a little jumpy because I'm so zoomed in, but maybe I want to add a couple of emails that I want to send this invoice to as well. You can do that for that one.
Meeting up or something like that.
Say that one more time.
No, I follow you. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. All right. So I want to go ahead and take a look at an open invoice with you. So I'm just going to filter by open invoices.
Adrian, while you're doing that, Jeff has just joined us. So.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff, how's it going today? I'm going to go ahead and open this invoice number. And when this invoice pops up, this is exactly how your invoices are going to look. For you guys, of course, it'll be your logo in the top right-hand corner, your association information on the top left-hand corner. I'm going to assign a tiny piece of homework for you guys tonight to put in the information you want on the left hand and to fill in what logo you want on the invoices, and that'll be kind of one of the items I'll ask that you complete from this training today. I'll go back through them in my follow-up email that I'll send to you after our call, and it'll explain them and even provide some help articles. I've also, and it's just to get your hands kind of dirty in the system, which I know you guys have been doing anyways. There is a notes section on our invoice, so I am going to point out the notes field where you can add these notes into. We have an notes area, so this is where you can write internal notes. Nobody else will see these except for admin. And invoices especially, that it's always helpful to know why you made that void. You guys may have somebody who's driving down the road and wants to pay an invoice over the phone, or maybe they sent in a check, so you need to apply an offline payment. You would just find the invoice that you want to make the payment to. At the bottom of the invoice, you'll select Pay Invoice, and you can either add in their credit card information or offline payment. Select what type of offline payment you're creating, and then add in a reference or check number in the top right-hand corner, the date received, and then whatever payment confirmation, wherever you want the payment confirmation to go, it's going to auto-populate the email address from their profile in this area. So if that's fine, you can leave it, and then you'll just submit that payment. At that time, the invoice will reflect as paid in your system.
Okay. Now that payment will go to MULA, right?
Exactly right. It'll be processed through MULA, which is your payment processor.
We'll set that up, or is that something we have to set up?
For a MULA application?
We're done with all that. I got that already done, but I'm just actually looking at the link and stuff. What he's asking, right?
Yes. Now, this is still your demo, so it's probably still being processed with MULA right now. But once that's complete, HART's going to build out the gateway. There are a couple of places and forms that you'll need to say, use MULA as the payment processor. But yes, I'm going to be setting up where the different sections in MemberClick saying, yes, use MULA as the payment processor. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that as well. It's pretty easy. And the system will tell you if you didn't, because it won't let them make a payment. And you'll be like, hey, I'm not getting payment. Okay, awesome. Going back to that invoice list. One other thing I wanted to point out to you guys, if you're ever in an invoice, you can always view that individual's profile from the invoice. I kind of like this feature, so if you just wanted to see what else they've been up to, what other invoices they have open, I can go directly into their profile. And we're going to look at a member's profile later in this training today as well. I'm going to explain how they're organized and what all these tabs mean up here at the top. Okay. Any questions on that invoice list? Awesome. So the next item that we're going to look at are invoice templates. This is our second icon. Now, you guys provided to me the notifications that you want to go out in regards to renewals. So you've given me that verb, you want to go out for renewal notifications. If you have any other type,
Well, I have a question on that.
Okay.
In the past, when we send out a renewal, it's okay. So it's so like the 60-day one is kind of copy intensive, and it doesn't have to be, but there's probably some key things. Can that be incorporated more text on the invoice, or is it just a standard, more business-like invoice like you showed me?
Section on the invoice, and you can talk about membership, or you can talk about remit payment to info, but I would probably include the majority of your information on the notification itself.
Okay. Well then my next question would be, if that's not the case, where we can add our reminder letters have been, or maybe let me back up.
Yeah.
We can send out a reminder letter with the invoice, correct?
So,
because in the past, our reminder letters have been kind of copy intensive, but there's some important reasons why we do that.
So question, and so typically what I've told people in the past is what I would recommend is sending out a preliminary invoice letter with have the invoice attached, but you could send out a letter from our contact center talking all about renewals, especially this first time. I would recommend doing that anyways. Hey, you'll be receiving an invoice in the next couple weeks, and then you can include all of that copy. The notifications themselves, those system, I'm going to plug in the notifications that you gave me that text. Now we can change that text. We can add more text. It can be as long or short as you want it to be.
Yeah, we are
it's going to be.
Yesterday,
you are.
Yeah, I mean the stuff, the ones that I probably sent you came from our office manager, and they're too wordy. They're make some edits and stuff like that. But I thought, well, at least to get us going, I know I can edit it once it's in the system. But so what you're telling me then, if that's the case, is we can send out a letter as a reminder, and that can be more of a letter format before they get the invoice. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right, and that's what I would recommend doing. Okay, versus
then in the letter, then to say you will be getting an invoice in the next day or so, or right, or can it go
exactly
at the same time? It doesn't matter, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would recommend sending them a letter. And I think you're right, like having less verbiage in the notification that goes along with the invoice sometimes is better because you don't want somebody to open up an email and go, holy crap, this is so long. I'm not
Yeah.
and then I'm just going to do it later. I'm just going to deal with it later versus here's, pay your invoice, really more so just being geared towards about payment of the invoice. And there's a link at the bottom of the notification. It'll say, click here to pay your invoice, and they'll click it, and that'll bring up the invoice where they can apply their payment.
Okay. And the reason my thought process was, and maybe it's different for somebody else, but when we send out the 60-day notification reminder, that one can have even some, and by the way, these events coming up where somebody may say, oh, yeah, I really want to go to that event, and so I'm going to renew right now, or it might be a little bit more, it's a little more relaxed reminder as opposed to the 30-day reminder or the 10-day reminder. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you can specify these notifications by member type and by which cadence it's going out at. So you can get super specific with these. Now, just to let you guys know, and I know you don't mind, adding the notifications after Elliot has imported the database is just a pain in the butt because you have to go into every single member type and update. If we do it before Elliot imports the database, it's going to auto apply to all of them. It sounds to me, though, like you want them to be a little bit different. You want them to be a little bit unique. So it might not hurt your feelings that it's going to be a little bit more CS, but just kind of giving you a heads up. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be specific per person or member. It's just that the 60-day notification, or let's call it a reminder letter. It's a notification, but that 60-day can be a little bit more relaxed sounding, and it can maybe even mention a couple of upcoming events. 30 days. The 30-day can be short and sweet. And by the way, this is just a reminder that your membership is coming due. So are we saying the same thing?
Yes, we are. So that's totally fine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Elliot, because I want him to go ahead and database. I don't want to stop him from doing that. So when you have all of that completed and you are happy with the way it reads, just send it to me and I'll do the dirty work for you. And I'll also make sure you guys understand through our trainings where you'll need to go to update that if you ever want to make changes.
And I can give you those today. I can give you the, I need to give you the 10-day, because the 10-day is just a reminder, that's it. But I should give you the 60-day and the 30-day, right?
That's fine. If you can, that's cool. If not, then that's okay too. Don't feel rushed.
Yeah, you want a PDF or do you want a Word file? I'll give you that today.
I'd rather a Word file.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, awesome. So I think we were just getting into talking about our invoice templates. Yes, and we were talking about how you guys have this text for renewal notifications. Awesome that you've already got that text. But what happens is if the system creates an invoice not for renewals, right? What if it's an invoice for a new member? What if it's an event registration invoice, a donation invoice, sponsorship or partnership invoice? If there's any other type of invoice the system creates, we don't have notifications going out letting that individual know, hey, you've registered for our event, make sure you pay your open invoice, or hey, you registered for our event and paid, here's your payment confirmation. Right. So now we need to tell the system to kind of send out some additional notifications for other types of invoices that it's going to create through invoice templates. So this is another piece of homework from today. So far, we've talked about kind of the first homework item that I'm assigning from our training today. And I am going to go through this in my follow-up email, but this is invoice templates. So you're just going to go into your system, go to invoices, go into invoice templates. Mm-hmm. Now, right now, we don't have anything in here.
Right.
So you're going to create an invoice template. Now, I'm going to go ahead and create a default invoice template for you guys. What that means is that even though our renewals are pulling notifications, the verbiage for notifications from a separate bucket, so renewals are like kind of special in member clicks. They're in their own bucket. I still have to use an invoice template to basically what footer information populates on the invoice. So if you guys have some remit payment to that you'd want to give to renewals, like to have on the renewal invoice, this is where that notes section pulls from that I pointed out on the invoice, that external notes section. Do you remember looking at that?
Yeah, that was the external, not the.
So if you have some remit payment to info, go ahead and throw it in here. Everything else is fine the way. You don't need to set up any of these notifications because those are coming from a separate bucket, that separate special document that you're going to send me. I am going to go ahead and mark this as a default. So if any on use this invoice template, if you forget to set that up, we don't want an invoice to just not be created, right? So what I'm this now is to go ahead and use our default. There are no notifications set up for this, so that way you're not accidentally sending out things for your donation to somebody who may be for an event, or things for your renewal or your new membership when they're just filling out a sponsorship form, right? That doesn't look professional. So we would invoice created and not send out a notification than to not have an invoice created at all, or then to send an invoice to them with the wrong notification. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I threw a lot of, I've talked a long time on that. Invoice templates are a little bit of a difficult thing to, I think, comprehend. So what I would is start by sitting down and writing a list of all the types of invoices you think that MemberClicks is going to create for you guys. And so just continue to create new invoices. So you'll definitely need one for new members. So if I come in here and I fill out a membership application,
yep,
you're going to mention either going out to me saying, hey, you need to pay your membership due, you know, your membership invoice. Maybe they have to pay at time of filling out the membership application though. Maybe they don't have the option of having an invoice created for them that's left open. Even if they have to do what?
We just do it manually then? So for example, somebody comes in and they want a new member, we basically create the invoice and we just do it manually, right?
No, I would always recommend, even if you're taking a membership application on behalf of somebody, I would always recommend, there is a way in our forms that we're going to talk about in our forms to take this form on behalf of your member. The reason you do it that way is because it's going to let you act as your member. You're going to take the profile for them, and then simultaneously it's going to create the invoice for them.
Okay.
You do have the ability to add people in, to add members manually just by creating a manual profile, but it's not also creating an invoice. You're then going to have to create an ad hoc invoice. That doesn't make sense. What makes sense is just taking the membership application and having that create the invoice for you. But if somebody's taking the membership application themselves, you can still force them to have to give payment at time of submission. And if they do that, where I'm getting is at minimum, you're going to want to set up a payment notification email. So even though they don't need to receive a notification letting them know that they have a new invoice, you're still going to want them to receive a notification letting them know you received their payment.
Right, like a receipt, basically.
Exactly, because nobody wants to pay something and then their money's just gone and they never hear anything else, right? They want that receipt.
Right. So, for example, if somebody comes get it and they're a new member, we can give them a form to fill out. So we got their doc if they don't want to do it online. We will have them fill out the form, and let's say we get a check from them today, we have to go in there and basically click on the patient email that we did receive. Is what you're saying?
No.
Or do you have that other area that you're going to show me for new members? Have that right?
So this is telling the system what you're gonna do is, if you want a payment notification to go out to those new members, your email. So you're going to add the verbiage, and anywhere that you link up this invoice template, which you'll do like a form, is going to say, what invoice template do you want me to use? And you're going to say new member invoice template. So that means that when anybody takes that form, it's trigger this notification.
Okay. I think I've got that.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So basically,
I think I can get through it. I'll have to train the front office, because we probably get a lot of walk-ins that want to deliver a hand check and or CAD renew, or new members even here at the center during an event.
Yeah. So even if you even if you do an offline payment invoice, it's still going to shoot out automatically a notification letting that member know that you've applied payment.
Okay.
Or if somebody's, am I following you?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing, but I
Just
think
differently.
actually signing up a member, that'll explain a lot easier.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that we're going to learn throughout all of our trainings. And then kind of do each training, you're going to go, oh, that's what she was talking about. And then you might want to go back and make some edits. Some of these notifications, because MemberClicks can send out so many, and I might have mentioned this before, but at some point you're probably going to email me after you guys have graduated or the help team and go, somebody got this notification and I don't like what it reads and I don't know where it came from. And then we'll have to go back through and show you exactly where that notification is being automated from and where you can update it.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is just try to dive in here, go to those invoice templates. Like I said, start by creating a list of all the different types of invoice templates that you think the system's going to use or that you think the system's going to create. You know, like I said, new member is going to be one that you're going to want to use. You can set up that net due date. You can set up some footer info, which would be that notes section. You know what? I don't need a new invoice because they're going to have to pay when they take the form. They don't need, so I don't really need to set this up. But I do need to set up the payment notification email. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to edit the email and put some verbiage in here. Keep in mind, if you turn it on and don't add verbiage, it's going to send out a blank, very spammy looking email. So make sure you add verbiage in if you turn the email on. Okay. Give that I've got resources. I'm sending in my follow-up email. If you get totally lost, we'll go over it multiple more times together. So don't stress on it.
All right.
The next item is invoice templates. This one's a little bit easier. All you need to do is add in the logo right here that you want to appear on the top left-hand corner of your invoice.
That's that area you told me about, yeah.
Yep. The last item is just saying what invoice number you want to start at.
Okay.
That's all you got to do.
Is that the first one when it says next invoice number? Is that the starting invoice? So all of the invoice numbers will be in sequential order then?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so if we started at 0, 100, I don't have to populate that anymore.
Correct. It's just going to automate it moving forward.
Okay.
And if you ever wanted to change it, I have some associations who like to start at, like somebody mentioned, 2017000, and then have it work up for 2017. And then in 2018, they might want to change it 20180, something like that. Then you can go in here and you can change this at any time. There's some type of organization that helps you guys, and it'll just pick up again moving forward from that number that you've entered in.
Okay. I'm assuming JPEG for logos, JPEG or I'm assuming JPEG.
Use a JPEG and notice it needs to be 200. Well, it doesn't have to be 200 by 200. It can be 200 by, whatever other size that's going to meet the a little bit smaller.
Yep.
Awesome. So that's a pretty easy one. Now, I believe I do have a list of revenue accounts from you guys. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. When you guys, if you ever want to change in, so I'm going to add all those revenue accounts in here, but if you guys at any point in time want to add a new revenue account, I always joke and say this is the hardest thing to do in the system. All you have to do is select add new revenue account. You'll enter in the revenue account name. Remember to be verbatim as to what's within QuickBooks. The description is optional. If it's for dues, you toggle on dues. If it's not, you leave it toggled off. And then at that point, you'll just hit save. So I like member dues. Yes, it's for dues.
Got it.
Save. Any kind of thing with revenue accounts, you can edit them at any point in time. But the second that you have money tied into a revenue account in MemberClicks, that's going to delete financials, which you can't do. So just keep that in mind. But once again, just to kind of reiterate, same names as the revenue accounts and member, God, I'm really tripping over my words today, y'all, in QuickBooks. Because if you do decide to pull a transaction report from MemberClicks and you import it into QuickBooks, if the revenue accounts have different names, it's going to try to create duplicate revenue accounts. And it becomes a real, just huge pain for you guys.
Be specific or lowercase, uppercase, it doesn't matter.
It has, whatever I do is I usually get the chart of accounts and I'm just going to copy and paste them verbatim from what you gave me. Just copy and paste. So I think that it does matter.
All right.
Lastly, we just have our payment processor. And so once HART is done building this gateway out, we'll be able to select edit and we'll see your credentials in the payment processor setup. Okay. Oh, they're already here. Perfect. So it's done. Awesome. Questions on any of these financial pieces? Okay. The next item, and we are going to talk more about the transaction report and how you can talk about that today. I'm going to send you some videos that'll help you guys understand how that transaction report works a little bit better, communicates with QuickBooks. And if we need to do an additional 30-minute financial training, we can do that later on as well. Okay. So the next thing that we want to look at, I'm going to go into the database tab and we're going to look at attributes. So an attribute is just a piece of information that MemberClicks uses to help determine or just helps describe your members. So we have split our attributes up into 3 different types. The first are built-in attributes. So that's what you see on my screen here. Built-in attributes are just pieces of information that we know, we've seen across the 1,800 plus associations, we know you guys collect on your members. Things like their name, their email address, their physical address, their phone number. We can't get these ability to collect up to 5 physical addresses, 5 phone numbers, and 5. Going to look at your database and determine, okay, they've got maybe 2 phone numbers. He's going to select edit settings, and maybe it's not home. Maybe it's a secondary. Maybe it's a cell. Maybe you guys have a fax. Maybe you have a spouse. So notice now I can't add any more labels. We've reached our 5 limit. Database, if you guys go, you know what? A spouse's email really could be helpful because we've noticed that his wife answers his emails more than he does. Then you can come in here additional label, just a silly example. But you guys might want to build out the demographics that you're collecting on your members since you have the ability to do so. Any questions on those built-in attributes? We also have system attributes. We're not going to be able to look at those back here. We can see them in a member's profile, but we can't change or manipulate what the system is collecting on your members. It has to collect it in a specific way, right? It's because that's what the system uses to track your members' membership period and how much they pay in dues. So we're going to look at those in a member's profile here in a moment, but we can't do anything to that info. That's purely for the system. Down here at the bottom, we're going to have custom attributes. So Elliot is going to build out these custom attributes once again to fit the database. So if you guys have some information that you've collected on your members that we wouldn't have known you needed to collect, we're going to create a custom attribute to hold that. For example,
an example would be, or would it be under members? We have, like for example, Polish Alliance, which is an organization that has joined, not an individual. So that's where that would come in handy.
That sounds, maybe you might want to hold that in here. But what I see more commonly this is used for is you might want to collect your member's birth date. Okay, so it's basically creating a new column in the database that we're going to use to collect information. Now we can collect it to play with our forms. So keep that in mind when we get to the forms training. It's going to come full circle. Come in here and add additional custom attributes at any point in time. So after Elliot imports your database, if you're like, you know what, we really should have been collecting all this other information on it, it's so easy. We're going to start collecting, A, B, C, and D. You'll just determine how you want information collected. So I know this is really small and I cannot make it any bigger. This first one reads country, so that's just going to give you a drop down of country options. Philly conference in, or what countries have you visited? They would be able to choose from a list of countries there, whatever applies to them. Date, of course, would apply for birth date. It's just going to give them a date field. File will give them the ability to upload their resume. Image will give them the ability to upload an image, maybe their headshot. Number will give them the ability to upload a number only, no special characters, no spaces, no letters. Selection set will give them the ability to choose an option. So you could say, what do I see commonly used for selection set? Maybe you could say describe your hobbies. And it would be like outdoor, indoor, artistic, religious, I don't know, something like that, where they'd have different options to choose from. Selection set's my favorite if you guys create custom attributes. It's really best if you can give options that you to search by, right? So if you're just trying to search by, for example, a text box, everybody's going to spell everything differently. So you're never going to be able to get the full understanding of what people, a popular one, how did you hear about us? Somebody might say Facebook, somebody might say social media, somebody might say online. All three of those things might tip the same thing, but if they can just write in whatever they want to, everybody's going to say something different. Whereas if you just gave them the selection set of social media, then you're really going to be able to find any three of those results. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. States, just a list of states. Websites, just going to give you a website box where they can type in like a website. So this might not make a ton of sense right now, but once Elliot has your custom attributes imported into the system, I think it'll make a big difference, and then you guys will be able to kind of figure out how you can add on to what you've already collected. Now, with attributes in the system, your members have the ability to view their profiles and update them. They also may have the ability to view other members' profiles and update them. I'm sorry, not update them, view them for networking purposes. So that's where profile owner attribute security and just attribute security come into play. This is the last thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do from our training today. This is just a little bit tricky, and it might be a little bit tedious, but once you do it, you'll never have to do it again.
I've been through this. I saw this too already.
You did?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, okay, perfect. So you're just determining what your members can do and see in their own profile. You've got your legend over here. You can all at once, or you can do it per box. Notice you've got five more. So and then same thing.
Can we do a sample one? So can we put a name in it just so we, because Jeff is here and this is something that's really important that we need to share with our staff. So can we just go through one? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do lifetime member per individual?
Yeah, let's do a lifetime and a regular member.
Okay, so what do you want a lifetime member? Do you want them to be able to update, like edit, only view, or have totally hidden their address?
Oh, this is, yeah, let me just explain this, Jeff. So in anybody's attribute, so their profile, you can have members look at other people's profiles, okay? However, you can do the settings to whatever you want them to see. So that's where we are right now. So Adrian, can you just go up, move up a little bit? Okay, so if you look at this, so a prospect, administration, lifetime member, These are your members right here.
Right. But I mean, is this based on individual or is this the whole category?
These are going to be the individuals right here. So, for example, this address right here. Go ahead, Adrian. You can expect, so I'm not butting in here.
Yeah, so basically what this is saying is if I'm in my own profile, so your members will have the ability to the system and view their profile. What am I allowed to do in my profile? You want them to update their information so that way you have more info on your members. You can do more search, more targeted emails. And so you're giving them the ability to update their profile, but you don't want them to be able to update everything. You might just want them to update a couple of fields. For example, your lifetime member. Maybe you can give them the ability to edit anything. Yeah, you're fine with editing their address. That's fine. You're fine with them editing their contact name. Well, honestly, a lot of times my associations won't allow them to update their contact name because you don't want them to try to give maybe they are like, oh, I don't want to be maybe I don't want to be a member. I'm just going to let somebody else put their name in my profile, and then they don't have to, whatever it may be. So sometimes maybe you only want them to be able to view their contact name. Maybe you only want them to be able to view their email address, their first name, their last name, their organization. So they can't edit that stuff, but they can see it. Now we're going to go down towards the bottom. Phone number. Yeah, sure, they can edit their phone. Ooh, expiration date. Nope. They can see it, but they can't edit. Join date. They can see it, but they can't edit. Last renewal date. Sure, they can see that. Last modified date. And it's kind of a system attribute. They really don't need to see that, mainly because you don't want to go in and update somebody's profile, and then they see that somebody was in their profile yesterday, and they call you and they go, oh, Jeff, I was hacked. Somebody was in my profile yesterday, and it wasn't me. So maybe I would hide that. Group, you might want to hide that. It's also just a system attribute. They don't really need to know what that means. Member status, yeah, they definitely need to be able to see it, should not be able to edit it. Member type, yep, they need to know that. Username, they need to know that. Maybe they can just see it, whatever your preference is. Member number.
They edit it automatically. And I know we talked about it, I'm jumping ahead here, but we can do that on the end, or they'll add their username on the front end, but we can also change it. If somebody calls in, they forgot it, they can do it online, or we can actually do it on the back end as well, correct?
Exactly, yeah, you'll be able to see any of the stuff on the back end, but this is specifically talking about what they can do on the front end.
Shouldn't that username be edit then? Shouldn't that be?
It depends. If you want it to be, it can be.
Okay.
And then member number, definitely shouldn't be able to edit the member number. And then
Jeff, this is every member classification. Right, okay. So this is going to be this will be regular members, red, white, and Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted you to go through that. Thank you.
Yeah, so you guys are going to do this for every single member. Now, there's another, and they'll be the same, right? You probably can mimic this moving forward. You are going to see some more fields in here because there are going to be custom attributes in here. Any of those extra fields that you would have collected on your database that we wouldn't have known you would have collected, right? So you'll need to set up for that as well. The other piece to this is attribute security. So if I'm a member and you're a member, what am I allowed to see in your profile? Obviously, I can't do anything. So what we would want to do is use our drop down now two-way. We've got members all along the left-hand side. We're going to start by selecting admin. Sure, as an admin, whatever you want to edit, whether it's on the front end, the back end, wherever it is. The other part to that, we're going to use our drop down lifetime member per individual. If I'm a lifetime member per individual, what am I allowed to see in a prospect profile? Nothing. Why should I network with that? Because I shouldn't. Can I see anything in admin profile? Sure. But maybe you don't want me to be able to see those system attributes, which we know are down here at the bottom. So we're hiding those system attributes. But maybe I can see anything else. Can other lifetime members? Sure, I can see. Maybe I can see anybody's information. It really doesn't matter, except for you don't want me to see those attributes. Then you're just going to go down here and hide this. You'll never want to give me the green pencil, right? Because I'm just a member. I should never be able to edit info in someone's profile. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm going to send you in my follow-up email some more resources. If you get lost in this, y'all, just ask yourselves, if I'm a lifetime member, what can I do and see to prospects? If I'm a lifetime member, what can I do and see to admin? If I'm a lifetime member, what can I do and see to other lifetime members? So kind of ask yourself that question every time you change this. There's also a prospect and a public. Remember that this also has to do with directories. Like if you have an outward-facing directory, do you want the public to be able to see anything on your members? If you don't have an outward-facing directory, you don't. If you do, then you will. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay, as a life member, you think that you can view all this stuff, but now, as a life member, if I go into my profile and I don't want anybody else to see my profile, can I shut that off on my end or individual?
There are some additional privacy settings, but not really to that degree. So if I'm kind of like a one-off situation, this is really more of an umbrella thing. Let me talk to you about the privacy settings when we go social community first, and then let's talk about exceptions like that. Okay.
Adrian, I got a question. It's kind of a general question, but it has to do with what we're setting up here, like with social community and all the information we have. This morning, our website is just, it's Concrete 5. It's terrible. The platform is terrible. It's old. It's obsolete. It's so limiting. Jeff and I are contemplating to redirect that website and essentially use our membership site as more of a blanket, not only member, potential members where they can get information. Can we add pages to make it more of a, not only members, but a little more informative to somebody that maybe wants to join? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like we could, if you want, we could take all of your content and just move it from your existing site, put it on this site. Or if you want to start from scratch, our next training is going to be content. We're going to have to finish up this database training, but we're also going to try to fit in content. And so I'm going to teach you guys how to create pages of content as well.
Yeah, and I figured we could, but we wanted to ask that because I think that's, you know, I mean, we're talking about that this morning, that either
your domain,
the domain, or just switch the domain to our member-click site. If we do that,
you sure can.
Guessing. So.
No, we can just change your domain. So when people go to your domain, instead of going to your existing site, it'll take them to the member-click site.
Jeff and I will decide that. We'll decide that and let you know, because this is just, you know, obviously the platform is so easy to use here, and Concrete 5 and with the platform we're using now is just absolutely horrible to use.
Yeah, but that's something that could be changed at a future date, or
yeah, that's changing the domain. Okay, yeah, it's outing the domain or changing the domain, and that can be done at any time.
Exactly.
Okay, sorry about that.
Exactly. No, you're fine. Yeah, if you guys wanted to, if you didn't want to get your hands into that until much later, then you can do it later. And there's no extra charge. I mean, our full platform, the full website's included in your level. So I'm always going like, why wouldn't you take advantage of that and not have to pay an outside party? I know it's not the, you know, the coolest, the fanciest, but it's a great professional looking site, and it's responsive on cell phones, which is where most people are, you know, most of your traffic's probably coming from. So yeah. Yep. Just let me know. Give me the go ahead when you want us to move over content, or if you just want to play around. I'll go ahead and include a content video follow-up in my follow-up email. So if you want to get your hands in there and start playing around, you can just take a look at that video and start having some fun. Okay. Well, I have another call I have to jump to. I'm going to mark where we've left off in our database. There's a couple more things I'm going to want to talk about at the beginning of our next training, but we did get through all of the things that I'd like for you guys to take a look at. If you have an opportunity before our next training, that would give us a great advantage. Do you want to go ahead and schedule our next training together, or do you already have that scheduled?
So let's do that right now if we can. And then for homework, I've got to add copy to the invoice, add invoice templates, list those invoice types, and also create my revenue account. My revenue account, got that as my 4 items. And also the new letters I need to send you.
It's really just going to be, and I have these bullet pointed, default invoice templates, invoice settings, notifications, attribute security, profile owner attribute security. And y'all, there's not going to be this, this is like the only actual homework from any of our trainings. There won't be anything else like this every time. When's the next good time for you guys to talk?
You tell me what you have open.
You guys are on Central Time. Could you all potentially do 12 or 1 Eastern Time on Tuesday, 10/10?
Eastern Time, what time?
Either 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock on Tuesday, 10/10.
It'll be 11 o'clock my time. Yeah, if we can do 11 o'clock our time, that would be good.
Okay. Pick up from database and content. And I'm going to send you from our training today. I'm going to go ahead